So for real,
Started.
I'm terrified.
I just started it. My bad.
Okay, no, it's alright.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just kids media upsets
Mm,
me.
yeah. It does make me really sad seeing what's there because there are good
Cause
ideas for shows and movies.
yeah,
But then you see people abusing those ideas and concepts, and it's just makes me sad because there's a lot of really good ideas that are there, and that gets watered down to such an
yeah,
extent.
I hate wasted potential. That's one of my main
Yeah,
things. I hate
like
wasted potential.
going to Disney Channel for one specific show that I could think of that's definitely wasted potential. Lab Rats.
I would say I disagree because I think the first iteration of Lab Rats was good, but when they combined it with Mighty Med, that's when I'm like, that's waste. That's when I say that's wasted potential.
Well,
Combining
the
it with Mighty Med was just not a good idea.
I'm not gonna say it's completely wasted potential, but making it a sitcom definitely wasted a lot of
Oh,
what it could have done as a
I
show.
disagree. I disagree actually. I think it actually helped a lot. The comedic aspect. It actually made me love the show. It worked out at least in the beginning seasons, but then when they combined it with Mighty Men, that's when I make the argument that was wasted potential. Because everything
Mm,
was like I don't know. When they
yeah.
combined it with Mighty Men, that's when I was like, no,
Yeah, it doesn't
this is
surprise me
not
they
it
combined
felt
it.
stale. It felt very stale. It
But,
felt super stale, and I got so upset. I was like, I love Rugrats. I love Mighty Mouse. This is such wasted potential.
but one of the things I do know is that behind the cameras are where a lot of drama that happens.
There's always drama.
And I do not have any details on that besides the fact that certain actors quit because it was just not good what was coming in, especially through fan mail.
I know it's not. I know it wasn't Tyler Perry or I forgot the name of the guy who played the other kid in Mighty Med. What was his name? Ugh, I know him as Fletcher from Anchorman. That's the only thing that I remember from him. Like I just remember him as Fletcher from Anchorman. But him and Tyler Perry, those two are best friends. Like I know it's not them who had the drama.
Yeah, but I know that for working at a number of Disney studios that do live action stuff, which is the reason why Disney is doing less live action stuff now, is like for example, if you've seen what is there for Nickelodeon and why they're moving away from doing live action stuff,
Fun fact: did you know
it
that
is.
the Nickelodeon actually sponsored the Smurfs movie I watched, and I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, why are you here?
Uh,
Why are you here?
and it's kind of weird that Nickelodeon has so many good IPs that it's like they have so
It's
many
just
IPs that they could be using and they're not really using them. Like for example,
if
with
they are,
Invaderism, they could easily do a lot with that, and they're
no,
not
yeah,
going to
and
be doing more
the
with
voice
that.
actor for Sim is still alive and kicking. Like
Yeah,
this dude
yeah,
loves doing invade. I met
yeah,
him. I actually met the voice actor for Zim.
yeah. I don't know who
He
it
loves it.
was that was on the team for Invaderism, but someone on the team for Invaderism is no longer around for acting, which is why certain
Yeah,
things for Invaderism will not happen anymore. I don't
yeah,
have full details on that because, quite frankly, it just made me sad. It's like it's an original show. They could have done a lot with it. Like they could have had spin-offs
yeah.
for it, and it just
They
got
could.
sidelined.
Yeah. I know one thing is that the voice actor for for Zim, I met him. I love him. He is such a nice guy. This dude still does Invader Sims. Like he loves him. He loves that. He loves doing chaos from Skylanders. I know he's working with like hell of a boss now, but I'm pretty sure if you
Yeah,
told him, "Hey, you want to do Invader Zim again?" This dude would jump at the opportunity
yeah,
because he just loves his character so much.
yeah. It's like
Heck, I remember.
they had a very well-written character in Zim, and it's like he's not. It's like yes, he has these skills. Yes, he's a genius, he's not like the perfect evil genius that he thinks he is, which is part of what
Yeah,
made it
I,
a really well written
I love that
character.
trope. I love that trope. Like they believe they're just an evil genius, but it's like, no, dude, you're very harmless. Like Dr.
Yeah.
Doofenshmirtz. Oh, I love that. He
Which,
thinks he's such an evil guy, and it's like, dude, you are
yeah.
so harmless.
One of the things that's kind of funny is that Zim and Doofenshmirtz are roughly equal on the harmless scale, even though both possess the ability to cause a lot of harm. Like there are episodes where they both do actually cause harm. But even then, it's
No,
usually like petty. Like for the most part, it's
no,
usually like
yeah,
small things. Like with
no, yeah.
Zim becomes too obsessed with revenge to actually be competent, which is funny.
And Doof is just so desperate to prove himself that he
Yeah.
kind of just doesn't,
Yeah.
succeed.
Speaking of, there is a chance we might be getting another either a continuation or it's going to be a brand new show for Phineas and Ferb at some point.
You mean the new season that's coming out that they
Yeah.
are releasing the second half a bit later on? Yeah, yeah, I know. They
Yeah.
they
I
already
don't have
released
full
it. It's already
details on it.
they already released it. It's already released on
Oh.
Disney Plus. Yeah, they released part one. Dan Povenmire came out and say, "Oh yeah, season five. There's a second half coming along. We're just working on it right now." So yeah,
Oh.
they they got renewed. So
Yeah.
yeah, we
I didn't
have,
have full
and
details on
it's
that. I'll admit that.
and a bunch of the original voice actors came back, other than Jeremy's. Jeremy's voice actor didn't come back. Mitchell Musso,
Oh.
which I'm not surprised. Mitchell Musso and Disney don't really get along right now, mostly because of his DUI charge.
Oh. Ho ho ho.
Yeah, this dude got fired
Yeah.
from Disney because he was driving under the influence twice. He got caught twice, and Disney was like, "Bro, nah." This was back when Disney was so focused on family friendly that if you did anything that was like a even petty crime, you were fired.
Yeah. Now Disney has political activists who kind of promote violence indiscriminately. Sadly. Actually, one of them did get fired, which was Zegler,
I
the
mean,
woman who was the main for Snow White. And she
I mean,
promoted some surprisingly violent ideas off
I
camera.
mean, from what I've searched for that situation, Rachel mostly just promoted to stop the genocide of Palestine, and then Disney
Mm.
got very upset with her
Well, it wasn't
because
just that. She also had like, with Rachel Zegler, there's just a long list of things.
I know that she has done stuff that I don't like Rachel, mostly because I
Mm.
remember some of the stuff she did that just turned me off to her. I was like, I don't like you. But I know that when it came to the Snow White thing, like what she said, she
Yeah.
just said to stop the genocide of Palestine, essentially. And I don't think it was fair for a producer to go to her house, all the way to her house, bang on the door, and essentially yell at her, saying that she's the whole reason the Snow White movie is going to be ruined. When it's like, well, no, I think it's Gal Gadot personally, but no.
Well, when you look at the evidence of what's there for the film for the live action Snow White, I'd say that it's just a long list of reasons just coming together, and
For
at
me,
least half
what's
of those
not
reasons are split between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler.
For me, the thing that truly ruined the movie was one, its existence. That already was a stupid idea. Two, Gal Gadot. Girly, I don't know why they thought she would be a good evil queen. Girly gave us nothing.
There's only
Three,
one thing she
the
does.
interviews.
Yeah, yeah, the
Three,
interviews are
the
definitely a
interviews. And
blow.
I mean, the interviews before the movie. That was stupid.
Yeah,
Whatever script they gave them, whoever wrote that script, I hope they're fired. That was the
yeah, they
stupidest
fired a lot
thing.
of people, if I remember correctly, because the movie ended up costing $1 million, and they
I
barely
hope
got
they
back a
fire.
hundred back.
I hope they fire the people if they actually had a script for like the interviews and what to say. I hope they got fired because Rachel essentially dissing on the original Snow White was such a stupid idea for them to do. Like, bro,
Yeah,
people don't like Rachel Ziegler in general. Why did you think it
yeah,
was a good idea to make
yeah,
Rachel say stuff about the Snow White movie that isn't true?
yeah.
Like her saying that the prince was stalking her was very wild
Yeah,
to me because I'm like, that's not what
yeah,
happened.
that
And
is.
then her
Yeah.
admitting then later on that she's never watched it, and I'm like, oh my
Well,
god,
in one
why?
interview, she said she only watched it once, but then in a different interview, she says she never watched it.
No,
It's like,
yeah, and then when
make
she
up your
said
mind.
that she didn't watch it, that she didn't watch it because it was too scary, and I'm like, I mean, I understand that when I was a kid, I
Yeah, I
didn't
can
find it scary.
understand that was scary, but there's a lot of people now that don't find it scary.
No, yeah, because when you rewatch it, you realize, in my opinion, the Snow White movie kind of was a kind of a nothing movie. I'm not in the sense of not in the
Yeah,
sense that it was bad. Let me make that clear. The
yeah,
original Snow White movie is a very nice movie, very charming. But at the same time, the most that happened was Snow White singing, helping the dwarves, and the evil
yeah,
queen poisoning her. That's kind of all that happened.
yeah,
She mentioned something of the prince like stalking her, and I was like, that the prince shows
yeah,
up twice. He shows that
yeah,
movie. The prince shows up twice. He shows up twice in a row, and he shows up because essentially Snow White wished for love, and after she wished down the wishing well, the prince shows up. She gets scared. She runs up. The prince watches her as she runs away, and then leaves. He leaves after that.
yeah.
But you can see that he was a bit intrigued by her. Like, oh,
Yeah, he was curious, but he didn't
he was intrigued. But
like
he didn't
stalk
stalk
her. Like,
her. No. The only reason he showed up was because he was at the end of the movie. He showed up near the end because he kind of just saw what was going on. And that's when he gave her a kiss and then whatever the hell. The one,
yeah,
again, there is stuff in the Snow White movie they should fix. Like, for example, the confirmed age gap. I'm sorry. What do you mean Snow White is 14? They need to fix
yeah. I
that.
understand they'd
They
fix
should have
the
fixed
age
that.
gap.
They should have fixed that from the start. That's the one thing they should have fixed.
Yeah,
But when it comes to everything else, I think it's just maybe making the prince and Snow White have more of a connection instead of what
yeah,
the original Snow White did, where they kind of just never spoke. That's something
yeah,
that they could have done and fixed. Like, example, the Cinderella live action. They gave the prince and Cinderella a connection, they made them actually, they made their chemistry a bit more natural. They made them actually fall in love with each other, not for who they were, not for who they were pretending to be, the prince being a prince and Snow White pretending to be a princess. No, he loved her for her, and they made that connection stronger in the live action. I'm like, that's something that, yes, you should have done for this live action. But then also again telling Rachel to say that this movie's about Snow White not looking for love, not looking for this, that
yeah.
she's not
It
gonna be pure.
goes into the other side of Hollywood, which is having a political activist, which is they have an agenda of trying to push an idea that isn't popular, but they're going to use a medium that people are going to be familiar with to push that agenda.
To me, I'm all about women empowerment. I'm all about that.
Yeah,
But to me, it's like Snow White is about being kind. The point of Snow White is
yeah,
about how you should always be kind and you will be rewarded. It's like, be kind, you will be rewarded for it. And she got rewarded with what she wanted, which was very simple, something that it's not bad to want. Love. And I think that we need more movies about that nowadays. Movies about
yeah.
wanting
Because right
love,
now we have a
wanting
lot of
meaningful
movies where
connections.
people like don't look
Movies
for
about
love or
even
connection of
no
any
yeah
kind.
no yeah it's like I want more movies about falling in love, about that
Yeah,
stupid little feeling you get when you first fall in love. I want that to return. I want
yeah.
those movies that make the hopeless romantic have hope that yes, I
It's
will
actually
find
not
love. Those
even
movies.
hopeless romantic. It's just in general.
No, yeah, I know.
Just
Like I
being able
say,
to see people have connections, see people fall in
no,
love, see
yeah,
people
like I
want to
want meaningful
become couples and so
connections.
on.
Even
Like
if
just
it's not
seeing
like a
that in
couple
media
thing. Even
would help
even
a
if it's not a
lot.
couple thing, even if it's just about, even if just about a group of friends being closer together, I don't care. I just want
Yeah,
movies about people. I want romance movies about falling in love, about how what this person
mhm,
wants is love. I want that to return because I miss
yeah,
that. I That's why I like Snow White. It's literally a movie about a girl who simply wants love, but and gets rewarded with that love for being the kind woman she truly is. That's what that
yeah,
movie's about being kind to each other. It's not about anything else. It's just about kindness. And we need movies like that. We need to remind people kindness should be the way to go.
yeah. And even though, like, kindness is one isn't the only thing I've seen that's absent. Another thing I've also seen, a lot more movies will have fighting in one way or another, whether it's verbal fighting or physical fighting. I've seen that's become a lot more common in movies nowadays.
Mm,
Which, depending on the movie, it can either make
it's just
sense or just be like a fish out of water, which
it's just that
just doesn't fit.
a lot of times
Mm,
to do conflict, at least from my understanding and from what I've been told, sometimes the easiest way to do conflict is fighting. The
yeah,
easiest way is usually to have people fighting, either arguing or punching each other. Do I
yeah,
think it's the best way? No, there are many other ways to have conflict, but sometimes it's just the easiest. Sometimes to just go with the usual of, oh, these let's just have these two arguing,
yeah,
and yeah, it just I get why they do it. Even I'm subject to do that. I've done it in some of my stories where it's like
yeah,
they argue. Heck, if the script I'm reading now, you're gonna see that there is a kind of a trend of a bunch of the conflict being a bit more like people arguing or stuff. But that's because at least this story kind of makes sense because tensions are high and there's gonna be more arguing in that regard, and it's an action movie, so there's gonna be fighting, physical fighting and stuff. But I do try to
yeah,
sprinkle in conflict in the sense of psychological,
mm,
like how the mental toll this is taking on the characters. I try to add that
yeah.
in.
Yeah, that's another thing that I have to say has been disappearing from a lot of movies, like especially Hollywood movies. A lot of people are going through things that are traumatic, but then they're not showing signs of the trauma. Like,
Yeah,
there are
that's what
some
I.
games where trauma is sort of just disappearing from games as well. But then the
That's
only
what
time I
I.
am seeing characters undergo trauma is still in books, but that's because books are an untapped market that people are sort of moving away from now.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It really depends because I know that we are kind of also I'm seeing a trend of like trying to bring back, I guess, the hopefulness, because I remember there was a time where everything was so dark and gritty in the media, and now
Yeah.
it's like we're trying to do a pushback where it's like, hey, look, not everything has to be dark and gritty. Example, Superman movie, in my opinion, is one of the best examples because we have before the Superman movie, we had shows like The Boys, we had Zack Snyder's Superman. Those were so dark and gritty, and people were like, "Oh, dark and gritty, perfect. That's realistic." And I'm like, I don't watch
It's like not
movies
everything is
for
going to be
realism.
dark and gritty. Like, that's
For
just
me, it's like I
being
don't
real.
watch movies for realism. I watch them to escape reality. That is the point of what I believe movies should be, to
Yeah,
escape, to find a way to escape, to forget about the darkness in the world, to think everything is fine, even for 1 minute. That is why I write stories the way at least the stories I want to write. Those movies are meant to be movies about just being. Sure, I touch real subjects, but I don't.
yeah,
You do, but those movies, I always say, if those movies make someone forget about the world and their problems for 1 minute, I don't care how many it is, even if it's one person, I succeeded in my job. Like, I want people to forget about life. I want people to forget about their problems for that moment. I want them to think everything is okay. I want to give them that comfort that they can go to this movie and forget about life even for a fucking second. I don't want realism. I don't want that. I don't want realism. I don't want to look at a movie and be like, "Oh yeah, this is exactly like my life."
Yeah,
No.
a lot of
I
people do
want
not want to be able to relate to the movies. Like,
to
they
no,
want to
no,
have a
no.
connection,
Sure,
but they don't want to have
relatability
it
is
remind them of their
necessary.
own real
No,
life.
yeah, if I have it remind of my life, I want it to be in the sense of everything is gonna be okay in the end. That's the reminder I want, not the reminder
Yeah.
of, oh yeah, this is how life is. Suck it up. I don't want that.
Yeah, it's like, we already know throughout the history of movies that if
Like
you
how
make
many
a
movies have
movie
come
too
out?
relatable, people tend to not like it because it reminds them of their own lives. And not everyone
Yeah,
is having a good life, and seeing the media portray a life that's almost like a
no,
mirror
yeah,
image
and
of
I
your own
remember.
life doesn't help either.
Yeah, and it makes me upset that people say that they want real. Every time someone says it's not realistic, I get upset because it's like
Yeah,
movies are not meant about realism.
yeah,
They're meant to be stuff to escape it, and I hate it
yeah. I
when
remember
shows.
seeing that same argument being used for art of, oh, it's not realistic, and it's like, it's art. It's not meant to be realistic. Like, if
No, art is meant to be
art is meant to be
the way I.
creative,
Yes, art is meant to be. Sure, we're sending messages. That's the
like,
whole
it's
point of
not meant to
art,
be
is to send a
perfect.
message. But the thing with art and what makes it genuinely so beautiful is that a lot of times art can be the thing that reminds us that we will be okay, that,
Yeah,
that there is a light on the other side of the tunnel. That's what I want. That's what I want to come back. I'm done with the grittiness. I'm done with the realism. Sure, I don't mind
yeah,
watching
yeah,
something angsty from time to time. Sometimes I want to cry.
yeah.
I don't mind, but I
And
want to
even
do
with
more.
realism, you can make something that's absolutely realistic, like a body type that's rare, and then people are going to complain about it online because it's a body type that's rare, and most people have never seen it in person, therefore they think it's exaggerated and unrealistic. And it doesn't matter if it's someone
Yeah.
who's buff or someone who's busty, it's like, it doesn't matter. There's lots of body types for the human race, and just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not out there.
Yeah, I just that's why
Yeah,
I always say I want to be a fantasy writer. Because that's the
yeah.
one genre that people don't complain about realism and I can do whatever I want.
With
I can
fiction and
actually do whatever.
fantasy, I've seen both receive complaints, however, they do receive less
Either way, like
complaints.
even with fiction, the reason I say fantasy is that at least with fantasy, I won't have to worry about people constantly complaining that it's not realistic because fiction, people still expect realism. And it's like, I get it.
Yeah,
Realism is a thing that could help and it could
yeah.
help people relate, but I don't want
But with
to be
fiction, once again, people
realistic.
don't want it to be too realistic, and because people still want the same escapism.
Sometimes, because nowadays there are people who do not want that escapism. They want the
Yeah.
realistic. Yeah, this is 100% how life is. I don't want that. I don't want
Have
that,
you
and I
seen
know a lot
Alien
of people do.
Romulus by any chance, or no?
Is that the new one that came out?
Yeah, the new one that came out that got really
I
weird
was
towards the
going
end.
to, I was going to, but
Uh,
I haven't
okay.
been able to.
I do not want to spoil
I,
that for you.
I saw a scene though that I was like, that's pretty cool. I saw a scene
What
where it
was
was
the
like
scene?
the robot refused to open the door when they were saying, open the door, he's going to die. And then when they were like, why didn't you open the door? They see that the alien was waiting the whole time for him to open the door. But because he didn't, he was like, okay, fine, I'll
Yeah.
kill him. I love that scene. I was like, hell yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I will say this as a critique for the film. For Alien Romulus, they did have a lot of respect for the original, like the first Alien film. They did rely a lot on practical effects for the film. Though my ultimate critique is the very end, because that final monster thing, or whatever you want to call it, the hybrid, or whatever it is supposed to be called, that thing does not make any sense, in my opinion. And what led to it becoming that doesn't make sense either, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like that's why I say sometimes in a story you can be unrealistic. You just have to make sure it
Yeah,
makes sense. And but a lot of
yeah,
people, because it's not realistic, they think it doesn't make sense, and are like,
yeah,
that's different. If you can make something unrealistic but that it makes sense, oh, okay, perfect.
yeah.
Like people don't question. But then it's like, oh, this doesn't make sense. I don't like it, and it's like, does it make sense in their world? Yes. Congratulations. It did its job.
Yeah. Like, there's also a new Alien show that's going to be coming out soon that's on Hulu, and
I have seen the trailer for that.
I've seen only two of the trailers, and all I can say is if they plan to actually read the comics, and they actually read the comics that were made for Alien, there's going to be a lot of interesting things that will be in that show if they read the comics, because in the comics, they already have a comic series for Alien of what if the xenomorphs got to Earth, and they have all sorts of hybrids that are terrifying. Which, slight spoiler for anyone who hasn't read the comics, the xenomorph alligator hybrid, that thing is 40 feet long. Like, they decided to take that thing and make it as huge as possible. But then also in the comics, they do have a Tyrannosaurus Rex xenomorph hybrid, and that thing is just no. Like, if that were to be put into any movie, and you had that, for example, pitted against the D-Rex from Jurassic World Rebirth, yeah, I'd be on the side of the Rex from the D-Rex from Rebirth, simply because that thing would be less likely to kill me. And because with the D-Rex, at least I can outrun that thing because it's slow. Hmm. No. Then again, there's hundreds of comics. I wish I could get a comic, but unfortunately, the comics are no longer being made, and they are expensive as hell.
I was gonna say if on Amazon they're cheaper, but probably not.
Yeah. And one of the last times I did check, it was nearly $200 to get one comic.
Jesus.
And all I know is that was before prices went up, so I already know for certain odds are I'm not going to be able to get a comic unless a new one comes out for really cheap, which probably isn't going to happen. But for a franchise, Alien is actually a really well written franchise, even though there are some inconsistencies between the films. But other than that, it's still a very well written franchise.
Yeah, I guess that.
Yeah. You know, a lot of older franchises, it's kind of amazing that started off as a college project, or something with the same budget as a college project, and became this massive franchise that's now worth
I
millions.
mean, Kane Pixels is a great example. This dude is a 19-year-old and he's directing a Backrooms feature film with A24. He
Yeah,
was, I'm pretty sure, still in college when he first made the Backrooms.
yeah.
It shows you. It shows you. College stuff, yeah, that could
Yeah.
send you high.
We also do have writers out there who've never gone to college that have made really good books. Unfortunately, I don't know too much about that because there are a lot of writers that have had to hide their names for one reason or another. And some even lie about their ages until they're much, much older. Because there are a lot of people out there that just do not like writers, especially authors as well. Successful authors usually get the worst of it, simply because a lot of people don't like the idea of someone else being better at writing than they are.
It's just normal internet bullying. Like,
It's like even before the internet, it was a problem with writers because a lot of people just didn't like writers. And now the number one issue they'd say that's there isn't with writers, but instead it's with libraries, because a lot of libraries are either unavailable or they're closing because a lot of people are going digital. It does make me sad that a lot of books are not going to become digital and they're just going to be lost permanently.
I mean, hey, it's, I mean, obviously joke, but ever since Duolingo decided to sell its soul to AI, I mean, people are now going to libraries a bit more. So hey,
Yeah, those do help a little bit. But sadly, there's like hundreds of thousands of books from, like, especially like before 1920 that simply are not available anymore for one reason or another. Like, for example, if we were to use the book Bambi, for example, the original one, not Disney, because the Disney version is
I think
heavily
Grimm,
sanitized.
Grimm Brothers.
Actually,
What's the
Bambi
Grimm?
isn't Grimm
I don't
Brothers,
remember. I don't
but
remember. A lot of their stories are from the Grimm Brothers.
the original story for Bambi was written in German, and it wasn't until the 1900s that was finally received an English translation for it. And the copy that I have in my room with me, yeah, that's like a piece of my family history right there, just having that book, because, quite frankly, a lot of books from that time are gone. Like, if it's from 1900s or before the 1900s, odds are it's either in a museum or it doesn't exist anymore because of libraries shutting down or libraries purging books, which, yes, libraries do sometimes purge books every number of years to make sure they have the accurate information. But then the price of book purging is a lot of stuff is permanently lost. Like, I already know that in some countries, certain mythologies that were local are just dying off, and it's the only reason they're dying off is simply because there's younger generations and not do not have access to that media, simply because that media is no longer relevant to that nation or that region of the world. And we also have wars. We also have times where sometimes, like, depending on where you live in the world, if it gets cold enough that you need a fire to stay warm, if you are unlucky and you need fire starter, odds are you're going to use whatever fire starter you have access to, and when people become desperate enough, bucks tend to be on the list of fire starter just because it's available. And sadly, that's just the way this world is. If you're going to prioritize life over knowledge, and because of that, there's a lot of books that are simply gone. Like, permanently gone, will never be seen again, and that's the end of it. Because, quite frankly, a lot of older books, they're simply just that old and they are outdated. But then it has a downside of it's so old that certain things will not be renewed or remastered. Like, for example, any copyright that surpasses any 1920s is technically public domain, but if it's in public domain, one of the downsides is there's a good chance it might just disappear permanently because no one owns it or no one wants to own it. Like, for example, there are a few Disney films that were made long ago that simply would not be made now due to one reason or another. And if you know what I'm talking about, you'll definitely understand when I say racism could be an answer to why. Let's see. I had a title on my mind, and now my mind has just gone blank.
I know that
Crap.
that Disney has made. I remember made a movie about I think it was the Three Little Pigs, and it's in the public domain right now.
Yeah. Uh, There's a specific movie that I remember seeing that was partially live action, partially animated. It has to
That's a
do with
lot of
slavery.
that could be a lot of
In fact, they
things.
did
People
have
have
an entire ride for it in Disneyland, and then very recently it's been changed to be something else. But then
that could be
again,
a lot of movies.
I believe the ride that was made for it was Splash Mountain. I have to double check if that's the name of the ride I'm thinking of.
Splash Mountain is like the one. Splash Mountain is the one with the animals.
Yeah, I know that the film had animated animals, and if you go into Internet Archive, you might be able to find it, assuming Internet Archive is still has everything in, because Internet Archive is being targeted right now, or certain things are just being outright removed without warning. But
I'm not sure then.
yeah.
I doubt it was Splash Mountain.
Yeah, I know that Splash Mountain does have. Oh, it is Splash Mountain because it has the coyote and the bear. They're from the film because in the film is about a boy who spends more time with some slaves than he does his own family. But it's from, like, it's a period piece because it is a time when movies were just made so differently than what they are now. And it's also a musical.
Disney loves musicals, so
Yeah,
that part doesn't surprise me.
yeah. It was also a movie that was made in a time when there were some people who do remember when there were issues between people like two different backgrounds. I'm not going to say out loud because of YouTube, but in essence, it's a piece that does portray a time in colonial America, or probably a little bit after colonial America. I'm not 100% sure. It's been years since I've seen it. But it is a film that Disney wants to have removed from the internet. Like, they do not like that it's available on the internet. And I do understand that does have some stereotypes in it that could be contribute to part of why it would be removed, but also the fact that there's a lot of bad people that will use stereotypes as an excuse to do things to people. I can understand
Yeah,
the violence being a reason why they don't want it around anymore. But it's history, and if we delete history, we have the tendency to repeat history. Like, that has been found to be behavior with humans. If we don't learn from our mistakes, we repeat them until we learn.
yeah. I'm not. I understand that. I know that. I remember in my art class way back in school, our art teacher was talking to us about the history of cinema, and he brought up a movie I that not many people talk about called The Jazz Singer, and it's a dude on with blackface singing jazz.
Yeah,
And I remember when I saw that, I was in shock. I was like, "Oh my god!"
yeah. Like that's one of the things that's there with the history of movies.
And
Is
I
there's
know
a lot
that
of
when
movies that were made long ago that simply cannot be made now because it'd be considered too racist or too sexist, or is just so out there that no one wants to really touch it now.
I mean,
And some of those movies can be found on Internet Archive, for now at least.
I know that when it comes to the jazz singer, that was just pure racism right there. Like they were making fun of black people.
Yeah,
And I remember my teacher saying, "This movie's horrible, but it's necessary for you guys to see this because it shows it's history." And I
yeah,
was like, I
and
agree. It's just shocking that humans were that bold back in the day.
yeah. No, I also remember a time like it wasn't until very recently that Disney became less bold with making movies. But there was a time where if Disney wanted to make a movie, they would make it very accurate to the time period that they're supposed to take place in. Like, for example, it was The Finest Hour. That's like 1900s. I, I do not know the exact year, but it's like somewhere between 1900 and 1950. And it's about a person who works for the Coast Guard, and on a very cold winter, he has to go out at sea because a cargo ship split in half, and it's the back half of the cargo ship that's still afloat because the front half ripped off and sunk, and they need rescue during one of the coldest, harshest, most brutal winters imaginable. Like, some could even argue that was a mission where if you didn't find success, you were not coming home. And it is a period piece movie, which, for some information, just so you know about it, it does have a lot of suspense, but is based on an actual shipwrecking that happens
Mm.
as well. It does use many of the accounts of the people who survived that wreck. And if you ever do get to watch the movie, the boat they used in the movie for the Coast Guard's rescue boat was much larger than the boat they had in real life, which was much smaller, and was supposed to have not made it back to land because it was smaller and they already lost their compass. Hmm. Yeah. But going back to the general topic, there was a point in time in which movies, like if they wanted to make a history piece where it takes place on a specific year or decade or within a specific point in time, movie studios would easily do that and they'd be fine with it. And now there's a lot of things you can't really do for making movies because it's either going to get the movie blacklisted, get the movie removed from the internet, or have the people who worked on that movie no longer allowed to act in any capacity. And
I would say it really depends because there are stuff that they did back then that they really shouldn't have been doing.
yeah, it's like it's a double-edged sword for what is and what isn't allowed.
I
Because
would say
there's a lot of
there are.
stuff that we would have allowed then that we shouldn't have allowed then. It's like I understand that doing a number of things. Like, yes, I do understand the list of what isn't allowed now. Just that now we just keep adding more and more things to that list.
Yeah, I know that there are stuff that we should talk about. That if we
Yeah,
talk about it, it is gonna be risky.
yeah,
There are stuff that is like that. But it's also the fact that I don't think it's that the topic itself. Well, depends on the
yeah,
topic, obviously, but sometimes it's not the topic itself. It's the way that they decided to execute it. It's like, yeah, you really
yeah,
shouldn't have done that.
yeah. Uh, then again, for making movies, like from what I'm aware of, Hollywood is the most expensive place to make any movie. Like, like anywhere else in the world is cheaper.
Yeah, that's why most filmmakers decide to leave the United States to film, which is
Yeah,
something that someone is very upset about. But it's like you don't really have
yeah,
anything to do. At least
yeah,
at least me as an aspiring filmmaker, there's not
yeah.
much.
Yeah,
There's not much that
it's
can
like with
be
creativity,
said.
like you can only go so far into the past before you run out of room for creative options.
Yeah, and it's like other places, they're cheaper, they give us more benefits, they're
There's more
more
history for those
enthusiastic.
areas. Yeah,
They're more enthusiastic. It's easier. They offer more
yeah,
accommodations. Meanwhile, in America, it's like you guys don't
yeah.
exactly offer much
Yeah,
to
we
keep us
can.
around.
Yeah, like that's the bare minimum. The United States sort of makes it kind of an unfriendly environment for making any movies,
Yeah,
and
and
as a
not just
result,
that,
it
but
gets
it's like,
very expensive.
yeah, and a lot of times we don't really have money to spare when it comes to this. We need
Yeah,
to use our money carefully so we don't go over budget.
yeah. And right now in the United States, it's simply cheaper to make a movie elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Like, it
like
doesn't
it's
matter
not
who's talking or who tries to bring a counter argument. It's simply cheaper to make a movie elsewhere.
cheaper, and not just that, it's also easier in a way. Easier.
Yeah, like for example, if I were to use the live action Transformers films, the main reason a lot of them go out of the US is simply because it's more expensive to keep filming here. Like the second film, where they had a massive budget, they went to Egypt because it was cheaper to film a number of shots in Egypt than it was to film anything of that magnitude here. Like they need a lot of area, and they were able to film that easily elsewhere because in the United States they sort of made it uber expensive to film in the United States, so they go elsewhere to do filming, whether it's small shots or large shots.
Yeah, another one of the places I really want to film at, mostly because it's gonna be easier for me, is Puerto Rico, because I know the area. I know I have a lot to work with. And the United, I always say, in the United States, the most I can film is cities. And I don't. And what if
Yeah,
my movie doesn't talk about cities? What if it talks about castles? What if it talks about
yeah.
medieval times? What am I gonna do with the city? Of
There's not
modern
much you can
cities?
do with the
Nothing.
city,
Nothing.
and
I can't do anything with that.
that's
And
also
there's not
excluding the
really that
fact
many.
that American cities do not look anywhere near as good as a lot of other cities from around the world.
It's just, yeah, it's just like a concrete. Unless I want to do a dystopian type thing where it's like
Yeah,
we're in the future in a concrete city. Sure, I'll
yeah,
film
that
in
would
that space.
like that's one of the few settings where it would fit. But outside of that, there's not much you can really do with cities, like American cities to be specific, because American cities, yeah, they all look alike. And it's almost kind of eerie how similar they are to each other.
Yeah, so it's not that I want to be a jerk, but it's like you guys don't exactly offer me any incentive to even stay here.
Yeah, it's like for filmmaking, there's
Yeah,
simply not many
filmmaking, y'all
benefits
don't
for
offer.
doing live
Y'all really
action
don't
here.
offer. Y'all don't offer that. Like, if I were to go to, I don't know, Europe, I could find a castle.
And Europe has thousands of castles, and a lot of them are not too public, if I remember correctly. Some are private, where it's like you'd have to rent it to be able to use it for anything.
No, yeah, but either way, it's like I still have a castle to work
Yeah.
with. But I still have a castle to work with.
Yeah.
And sure, I'll rent. That's why budget exists. I would use the budget to
Yeah.
rent it out.
Oh,
At least with that, I can do it.
going back to the show Stargate, a portion of that show was filmed in, I believe, Australia. But they didn't exclusively film in Australia. They did film in a number of other places as well. Just because they wanted to have, and like, if you know what Stargate is, which this will be spoilers, Stargate is a franchise that starts with a movie where the military started experimenting with a special ring that was found in the 1920s and was taken from Egypt to the US, and then people started experimenting in the hopes of eventually making, well, discovering what it is at least. And they eventually
Yeah,
discover
oh,
that's
by
a
the way.
portal that goes to other worlds.
By the way, Russell, we're getting another
Yep.
call.
Yeah. Okay.
We could end it. We could end it here.
And we'll end this chatter here. Anyways, thank you for watching and have a good day, everyone.